This is E&P Reports, a service of Editor and Publisher magazine. Since 1884, the authoritative voice of news publishing. Hi again, Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P. And today we're talking making money during COVID-19. Got a case study for you, straight out of my home state of Florida. We're going to talk to Mike Beatty. If you don't know Mike, he is the president of Adams Publishing Florida's group, which incorporates the old David Dunn Rankin Son media properties and the family-owned properties in the Florida Keys and Key West. But he's only been there for a year and a month or so, and he's launched a brand new stimulus program that has a number of facets. I would call it a freemium model, where you're allowing the business to first advertise for free that they're open during COVID-19, and then working your salespeople to do a needs analysis and then upgrade them into a matching program, where for every dollar you spend, we'll match them to help bolster the local economy. And it's rocking to the tune of 7 figures plus. And this is not a large market operation. This is just a market that's being aggressive in tough economic times. So let's not delay. Let's learn more about the stimulus program from Mike Beatty of Adams Publishing Florida. Well, Mr. Beatty, it's so good to have you join us today on E&P Reports. You and I both hail from Florida, so we're enjoying some warm weather right now. I'm assuming you're glad you're not up there in the cold and snow everyone else is talking about up north. But first, why don't you tell me a little bit more about where you are in Florida, what markets Adams, Florida are. You are the you're the manager of an entire region, correct, of newspapers owned by Adams.
I'm the regional president for Adams Publishing Florida, and our markets consist of kind of the 2 areas: the Suncoast Media Group, which is kind of around Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, Inglewood, Northport, Arcadia, Venice. We have the Sun newspapers and related weekly products, magazines for that area. And additional, we have the Key West products, which is the Key West Citizen, and the Free Press, which is basically one end of the Keys all the way down to the other end of the Keys.
Just for those who are industry connected, Key West was originally a family operation that Adams picked up, correct? Those newspapers. And Sun is David Dunn Rankin. Many people know him and his wife from their, they're still very involved in the industry. So you took over, and that was a really great operation. Still is.
Yeah, and I see David almost every day. He has an office in our building in Venice.
Oh, that's excellent. So you're based out of Venice then?
Yeah, that's where my office is, but that's where my office is in Venice.
And based on this illustrious career of yours, CNHI and Baltimore Sun, Chicago Sun-Times, this is a short gig for you. You've only been there for 1 year and 1 month now, correct?
Yeah, I started in July of 2018.
Wow. Now you got the gig in beautiful Florida. The reason we're reaching out to you now is the stimulus program you put together seems to be rocking. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? What is this stimulus program that you're offering local businesses in all your markets? How did you conceive it, and how's it going?
Well, the stimulus program really came about from a vast array of experiences of all our team members. As you know, Florida has been hit by hurricanes. I've happened to be in now, I have been in 2 hurricanes and then Gulf and tornado. And in all those experiences, what they have in common is when your communities get hit, the businesses need help to come back. The one thing is common, that on the newspaper readership side, we become more valuable than we ever had before. People really turn to us for information. So we have some of our strongest audience between digital, online, breaking news, and print that we'll ever have. That's just the nature of the beast. We're who our readers turn to for information. But our advertisers, it takes some time to get back up on their feet. This disaster is one that we've never experienced. We talk about this as being, it's interesting because it's not a newspaper problem, it's not a community problem, it's not a national problem. This is truly a world problem, and we're all facing the same problems everywhere. It doesn't matter if we're here or in Joplin, where I was, or any part of the country, because we're all facing this together. And so when looking at our business community, the challenges our audience has with state lockdowns like we have is, who are essential businesses and who are open. And then once you find out who's open, then what can you do for them? And then it's for how long you do it for them. And then as businesses open up, you got to be there for them. So this is a longer term solution process than normal, because I don't know how long this will be. And if I had that knowledge, it'd make it a lot easier for all of us. But I think the way it started out is we had to figure out what are the first basic needs of our audience. And that the first question from an advertising side is, well, who is open?
Right, exactly.
So what we did is we put the stimulus program together, and I'll tell you a little more about the details of that. But when we put our ideas together, we needed to, get the message out that we're out here to help. So we are worked with our chambers and our realtor associations, the builders associations, and in all their newsletters, they help get out the information that our properties, the Sun newspaper group and the Key West Citizen and the Free Press, we're all out there. We have a program we want to help you with, but first and foremost, are you open? So our salespeople in all the markets, we started calling all of our businesses that we could call on before, plus anybody new. So we just basically called every business in the, if you would call it that, the old phone book. Except for that's not what we use now. So we just started calling everybody, and we offered the first step of it as a free ad, no strings attached of, are you open?
Right.
And this is an astounding number, but right now we're over 1,200 advertisers that have ran a free ad. We are open, and with no strings attached.
And that ad was print, digital, both? How was this done?
This is a print campaign that
Okay.
but we also put them on the directories online as well.
Okay, cool.
So, but the interesting thing about all of this is, of the 1,200 or so that we're at now, I keep losing track. Every day we have a 4:00 meeting where we get updates where we're at on this programs. Over about 65% of them, Mike, were businesses that we've never done business with.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you get the message out to them? I mean, how did you get the mountains to Mohammed? What did you do?
Well, we used the association's relationships with them, and we just started calling them. It was just, and our expectation with our salespeople is to understand they're in the same position as we are. They're needing business as well. They're commission driven. And, it gave them an opportunity to call people who never had a chance to talk to, because these people are in a boat of, people need to know I'm open. So the relationship is there. So it was, our reps were calling 50, 60, 70, depending on the time, accounts every day, just finding people are open. And when they did, they said, listen, we want to help you. We have a free program. We announce that you're open. And they were like, yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's great.
And
Did you have a script of some kind, or just let him wing it? What was the deal?
Pardon me?
Did you have a script of some kind, or did you just let him wing it? What did you do?
Well, that's kind of a script, basically. But I look at myself, I'll take a script, but I'll make it my own. So everybody
Exactly.
I think what's interesting about all of this is, you have two types of sales groups. We have our tele-sales people who are accustomed to making these calls outbound, and you have the outbound or the outside sales people who typically depend on their charm and grace and their personality, right? And so they've had to learn a new way of selling, and I think it's really been good. We've also, implemented a new CRM system, in January, and we were trying to figure out how it works, but now it's become a tool because it's the only way we know what's going on, and the reps can keep track of everything is using the CRM tool. But that was the first step, was the free ad program. But here's what, now we have kind of a pipeline of people who we know we need to go back to help, because now we know who's open. So the second phase of the stimulus program, and our program is pretty simple, really, and then we've designed programs around it. But the philosophy is if you spend $500 or more, we'll match dollar for dollar up to $1,000. So advertisers.
Let me say that again. You spend $500, we'll double it up to $1,000.
Yeah.
So every dollar spent, you're matching $1. Okay, cool.
To $1,000 match. And the reason we picked $1,000 a month is that's typically what the SMB is going to spend with us per month.
Okay.
The larger advertisers, quite frankly, have their own programs with us and you work with them in a different way. But this is really designed to help our small, medium people survive.
Okay.
And that's what we really focused on. That's who we're calling. We're calling mom, pa, and local ownership because they're the ones that we need and our community needs to get through this tough, difficult time. So we're going back to all these advertisers now, and we're working with them one-on-one on what makes sense for them. And this is interesting because, we've been talking about consultancy selling for a long time.
Right.
Some do it, some don't do it. But right now, I think in your message was pretty clear was, you have to advertise good times or bad times.
Well, we should for full disclosure, we should mention that not only are we discussing your new stimulus program, which is rocking, you actually contracted with E&P to have me do one of our survival marketing workshops for you. Yes. And that was one of the messages that the first thing I said was, this is not a commercial for the local newspaper sponsoring this. This is an ad for advertising. What's that famous quote from Barton? In good times, people want to advertise. In bad times, they need to advertise. Mm-hmm. So you were leading with that message as well when you were hitting them. Go ahead. So, yeah.
And so anyway, so what has happened now is, the people that, especially let's look at the 65% we had no relationship with, because back then it was like, well, everybody knows me, it's word of mouth. Well, none of those rules apply anymore. No. And the other thing that applies is that nobody knows what the future aspect of their business is going to look like. And that's the big mystery as we open up the states, what is a restaurant going to look like? How many can go in? I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to change. And so we're having a lot of conversations about that with people. And I think that's really helping our reps grow too, because now, it's no longer that script of who's your customer, and, all the things we used to ask. Now it's really about, what do you think is going to happen? What is it that you need to do? What are you going to change? How are you going to change your business, do you think? Opening up a whole different level of conversation with their salespeople. So the calls are a little bit more lengthy as we're developing trust, but we're also trying to figure out mutually what it's going to look like. Because right now we have over 100, almost 150, 160 advertisers now that are taking us up on our stimulus offer, which is pretty good.
That's above and beyond. Let's get the metrics. How many again are getting the freebie, the freemium part of this program? How many?
Like over 1,200.
1,200, and out of which you've converted how many? 120, correct? You said
over 100, roughly 150, 160.
160. That's incredible. So you've converted well over 10%. Did anyone feel bait and switched? You said this was free, and now you're coming back to me, or everybody understood what was going on here?
That's the other thing. I think the thing that we have as an advantage in our industry with our salespeople, and I think that's why it's important to note that as a newspaper industry, we've always had that credibility. From an audience perspective, from a news side, we've had that credibility that we're who people come to, right? And I think that's transferable with our salespeople, because typically when you hire salespeople in our industry, you're hiring people that are not your, are not the used car salesman type of person. You're hiring somebody that has a fundamental foundation. They're good people. They want to sell relationship-wise. They want to develop a trusting relationship. And I think, particularly in our markets where you're smaller papers and you've been in the community a while, you've got a good core group of sales executives, and in our case, multimedia reps, that really like to establish that trust factor. And I think even the people that never knew these people calling them, they automatically associate with our product a level of trust. If the newspaper calls me, and I think that's important.
I think people forget, as much as everybody's bitching and moaning and complaining about media disruption and newspaper circulation is down and all that, we still have tremendous street cred.
Oh, yeah.
If answer, but I mean, come on, these brands are strong in the markets. Our biggest problem is we don't leverage them well. We don't market them well. I mean, this is a very, so let's go back to, it's a two-prong approach. First, you reached out to say, we got a freemium, whatever you want to call it, offer to help you. Did any of them just take them right into the second phase automatically? Or was it always stop there, then circle back to the advertiser once they're getting the yes, we're open plan? Or
I think it depends. So if it was a customer we already had a relationship with of some sort, we were able to go to, listen, I've got this program going on. I want to work with you. I know you a little bit, but for the other ones, it's really now it's like, I don't know you. We need to talk about your business. We got digital platforms. We've got, so let's talk about your business and what we can adapt. Now, to be fair, you have different levels of spenders throughout the program. So we have developed, from your, when we did the workshop for that, we developed some reach and frequency programs because that was what we talked about. So we've got, we've sold multiple advertisers on a reach and frequency who wants to run more frequent. We've sold some of those. We're also looking at different size packages depending on some of these advertisers because some of them are very, very small and have never advertised at all. So we're looking at affordability factors and what we can get them for bang in their buck. So what we're doing is we're kind of learning as we go because this is new ground for all of us. So the way we used to think about packaging is we have to think from very, very small, but also we're finding some really large opportunities that people had a lot of money that we didn't know about that we're spending elsewhere that now are saying, listen, I like what you're talking about, but what can we do? And the other factor is like, what, I know we need to do this, but my business is not yet one that has opened up, but so as the businesses open up, we're going to see more and more people jump into our stimulus package. And so it's going to accelerate as the state loosens up its restrictions. Who knows what that'll be for sure.
So it wasn't the normal cookie cutter approach where you say, okay, we're going to build these packages first and say it's cost A, but you get it for B. There was none of that stuff. It wasn't, you basically said, let's market the fact that we're going to inject millions of dollars into the community by matching dollar for dollar advertising. And then you encouraged your sales reps, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, to go back to a consultative sales approach. Right. Learn exactly what the business can afford, learn what their messaging was, and then take different things off the shelf. So you got a lot of tools down there. It's not just print and digital. You guys also have programmatic, you have email programs, you have social media. Were any of these also being blended in, like digital services and that as well?
As we evolve with the customer needs analysis, we'll be putting all that in. We have with some of them. I think that's the beauty of working for Adams. When we bought the properties, we bought great properties.
Oh, you did buy, yeah, I know the Sun Group is amazing.
And if you go to our website and you listen to Mark talk about what the associates mean to our company and what our communities mean and why we buy them, the investment factor of what we put into every publication to help our audience and readers and also our advertisers has been phenomenal. That's why I have such great pride working for the Adams company. I feel privileged to do so. But the interesting thing is on this program, we were taking that whole sense of pride because we realized that we're here to help, and that's our objective. And I think that's what's kept our salespeople, despite how tough it is, really motivated because our approach is truly sincere that we want to help our advertisers through this. At the end of the day, we all know if those who help each other, everybody wins. But right now, these are people we've had relationships with. We live in these communities. We see their pain, and because we're experiencing that same pain, but we're just trying to help everybody get to the other side of this. And that's really been, if you listen to our calls at the end of the day with all our sales teams particularly, but it's also going on in our newsroom. This is what the newsroom has lived. This is what they live for. They live to help our readers in situations like this. So despite how tragic this is, the motivation to help is really strong in our organization. The stimulus package then goes kind of the next step in is once we start cultivating the advertisers' needs, then we start building these packages. Like I said, we have developed some turnkey ones to help in certain situations, but it really comes down to more customization. That's why it takes a while because we started the program a few weeks back. To give you an example, like the first week we mainly had maybe 20, but last week we had 61 commitments, and this week it's growing more than that. The interesting thing is how you have in the newspaper business, you have your traditional kind of outside salespeople, and then your in your telesales people in classified. Well, we've opened this up because everybody's calling everybody, right, to help. And it's been interesting how what would have been a traditional classified customer, they're calling. We have so many businesses to contact that a lot of their customers that were commercial are saying, listen, I do this in classified, but can I do this on the display side? And the answer is yes. And yes, the same reps can handle that business because you don't want to confuse them with multi-relationships. So it's kind of changing the way how we look at our business ourselves and how we do business.
But you're offering, you must have a pretty, I'm not trying to, stroke you here, but you must have a pretty great a well-trained sales force, because you're trusting them then to put the packaging together based on the needs of are you approving every single one with the dollar match? What if someone throws in so many digital services that your cost of sales is so high, you're not making the same profit? Are you willing to still do that?
I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a difference in your own O&O products. What you do,
you bet your bip there is, yeah.
On our outside services, what we do there is we have a hard cost on that. So on the match on that, it has to be it's not quite as sweet a deal in the eyes of the advertiser, because we're covering the cost of the services and we're still have the profit. So we can still do those things, but it's not going to look the same, so we get the same profit. But interestingly enough, I think the thing that we're finding out right now is the advertisers that we're talking to, which are the small, medium people, they're more interested in what our newspaper and website audiences are. Because, right now, we didn't have a website until, we built it in 2019. Right? Because when we bought it, we had e-editions, but we didn't have websites. So we built our websites kind of throughout 2019, and then 2020 is when we really have it as a robust site.
How's the audience? How is your audience with your digital products?
Last month are almost 2 million. But they were
and just to educate our audience here, are you locked down? Are you metered? Are you wide open?
A paywall. Yeah.
There's a paywall. For all content, you can't get in without paying, correct?
The 3 free visits.
3 free. Okay. 3 free, then you pay. And you got 2 million unique visitors a month?
Not page views last month.
Page views, okay. All right, cool. And that's across, we didn't get into the roots. How many different brands are there? How many different publications in the Sun Media Group right now are you managing?
So we got the Key West newspaper group, and that's basically Free Press, the Key West Citizen, and then their assortment of magazines. I think they've got like 3 or 4 magazines.
Right.
And here at the Suncoast, we have the Gondolier dailies, which serve Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, Arcadia, Inglewood, and Northport. Venice Gondolier is a twice-a-week product. Then we have the Sun Weeklies, we have the West Villages Sun, and then we have a multitude of magazines as well. So, wow. And then, of course, the digital platforms, that we serve all the markets with.
Okay, for the Sun Media Group, because remember, there's a gap between those of you that know Florida. We're now discussing the western coast as it shoots down towards the Everglades. Then you got to go through Miami to get down to the Key West and the Keys. Wow. So let's stay with Sun first. With all those titles, how many offices are there and how many reps do you have?
Yeah, they think of us as 3 counties we serve. We serve DeSoto County, Charlotte County, and Sarasota County.
And how large is your sales force combined?
We have roughly 30 salespeople there.
Wow. That's a large organization. And you're all meeting virtually now daily, did you say? There's an afternoon sales get-together?
Yeah.
Wow. And are you acting sales manager? Are you the boss? Are you running the sales team? Or do you...
We have some great leadership at our companies, but I'm at every meeting. They kind of make fun of me now because I would make sure the meeting's long enough so I can put my 2 cents in. And you know me long enough that I can't sit quiet. So at the end of every meeting, I have a message of some sort. But I think it's important that all our leadership is involved on all these calls. I mean, my publisher, I'm also president of the region. I also publisher of the Gondolier. Glenn Nickerson's the publisher of the Sun newspaper group, and Richard Tamburino is the publisher down in the Keys. And it's important that we're highly visible. And my background, as you saw mentioned before, it comes from advertising, and it's kind of my and I love it. But I think right now it's important that we're all coming up with ideas and support, because this is hard emotionally, not only on our employees, but our readers and everybody. So we're all kind of feeling that same pain. So we have to kind of lift each other up. So these are the habits you think about. We should have done this all along. Every morning, the teams have always had their pre-morning huddles. All the teams have always done that. That's always been part of our ritual. And then the individual sales managers, you always have an afternoon recap. But one of the things that we changed was, let's not just have an individual salesman team wrap up. Let's do it all ad department, because everybody can share their ideas, and that's been really, really good.
Key West and Sun is on the same call.
Key West is doing their own thing. They're,
Okay.
because the situation is very different between the two of us. But we do communicate back and forth on what's going on. Their ad director and our ad director share ideas. There's a lot of mutual communication and sharing of ideas there. But our market is a little different, but we do share the successes. They're learning from us and vice versa. They're more dependent really on the tourism industry even more than we are. As you've been to
Definitely.
all restaurant and hotels, and they pretty much shut that place down at Highway 1. They did a total shutdown there. So for them, it's just a matter of opening back up the islands really and letting businesses start to operate. So they're in a tougher. I think I know they're in a much tougher situation, because they, when they go shopping, they have the local stores, but they talk about going to the mainland, which is really funny to hear when you're down there. When they say, well, I'm going to go to the mainland to shop, I'm like, I guess you're right, because you drive through all those islands to get to.
If no one's ever taken the ride to Key West, there's actually a very, very long causeway where you don't see land on either side. I mean, you're in the middle of an ocean, and I did that in a convertible once. It's just a wonderful experience to take that.
Bridge. Yeah.
It's amazing. But let me go back and just discuss in the Sun Media markets. You also are blessed in a way, because we know that the average print newspaper reader today tends to be a little bit closer to my age, right? I mean, we're talking about the baby boomer generation. You're in some pretty affluent baby boomer markets. Am I correct?
We are. And I think that's kind of, you look at our country, you look at, we have a very strong 7-day-a-week audience in our dailies. In fact, we have hardly any Sunday onlys. I would say 97% of our audience is 7 day a week. And then of course the gondolier is 2 days a week, but, so our audience is strong. And it's interesting when people come down from the North now, because I think we really focused on local content. We had our papers redesigned by Bill Ostendorf, and hey, Bill, you owe me now a plug. But he designed our papers, redesigned them, and did a great job. And so when people come to our markets from the snowbirds and they get our paper, they're like, wow, you're still doing local journalism. You still are covering local news, and you still have local sports stories, and so that's been kind of our mantra. I mean, that's why Adams buys our publications, because they see the value of what community news is. I still believe, and like all of us are still in it, I think that's the future, is for us to stay really have that content you can't get anywhere else, in print and in online, and then we'll prosper. And I think that's been our focus. We're really focused on local content. Can we cover in our communities, the school boards, the high school sports? And right now, it's in events. Of course, being in Florida, you live here, this is probably I don't know. I've never been to a place where, especially in season, as we call it, that events reign. It's events all the time. People are really active at all.
But the problem now is everything's shut down. But it's definitely an outdoor society. So let's go back and do a quick recap. You basically are willing, and most people should experiment with this idea or do it, is reach out to the local business community, find some cost-effective way that you can just market them gratis, that they're still in business. Very small ads, possibly in the newspaper, business listings, online as well in your directory product. Then the sales team should circle back to them, do a needs analysis on each one, use a product that is appropriate for the advertiser. Some I assume are doing full digital, some are doing only print, some are doing combos, and then match it dollar for dollar up to $1,000 and tell the community out loud from the start that this is your contribution to the community. Do I have it? Am I missing anything?
No, you got it. And we're running ads in the paper. We also have columns about it. Our chamber presidents, where they've talked to us, their memberships about it. Everybody seems to be really pleased with what we're doing. There's nobody that thinks it's we haven't had one advertiser say that you're doing this very self-serving. They get the fact they need to advertise, but what they need to know is how to do it. So a lot of it now is, well, what, some of their old messaging that they had just didn't work. There's branding is one thing that's always very important, but right now they need to push somebody to their door. They may be open, and maybe it's different. Like a couple of our furniture stores, for example, always depended on people coming to their store to see their furniture. Now they're promoting shop us online. You can come to the curb. We'll let you up. We'll deliver it to you. We'll do the thing that we're learning. Like, this is my first podcast, and I'm not the most comfortable person typically doing this sort of thing, because I like being face to face with people. But they're doing consultancy things, just like you and I are talking about their services. Financial people, this is kind of how they're doing it, right? They them some packages, and then they talk face to face, just like you and I are doing. So the more we're getting used to that, I think that's going to be a lot of our new norm for some of these services, because people are still going to be nervous about sitting side by side. Just kind of where we're at, right? It's going to be a while till everybody gets past all of this. So I think everybody's got to learn how to do things differently, and that's not only in how they sell their product, but how are they communicating their services. So and we've been kind of lucky. We don't have that many people working out of their home. We thought when we allowed that, we'd have a lot more people working out of their houses, and the newsroom has hardly anybody. The only people that are working out of their homes from our perspective are people that have either they're living with somebody that's high risk, or they are themselves. Because you mentioned to yourself is, a lot of baby boomers are working at our paper.
Right.
And there's people that are our employees that we want them at home if they're in that high risk group. We don't want them to take any risk, because that's how bad you feel if something happened, right?
So your salespeople, a lot of them are coming into the office then, correct?
Yeah.
Are you encouraging masks, social distancing, washing hands? I mean, how are you running the operation?
We clean the office, sterilize the offices. I'm looking at a couple of groups right now to come in again and mist the whole place, make sure everybody feels secure. We put hand sanitizers everywhere. We have a reimbursement program for face masks if people want to wear them. Nobody is. Our buildings are spaced out enough that nobody's sitting on top of each other. And when we changed how we do our meetings, like our operating committee, where we have a lot of managers that we normally sit at a table. Right now we're spread out and we're doing it like this. This is how I'm using this new technology, because you can cover the same things and do the same things. We're just not putting people tight in a room. And in our buildings are big enough that everybody has been spaced apart anyhow, so that's been really good. I tell you, we had a couple people, they can work at home, but I know there's several of them, like starting next week, they want to come back there. Salespeople particularly, and news people, are social animals. I mean, the skill sets for the reporter and a salesperson are very similar. They have, they got to be able to have confidence. You got to talk to people. You got to interview people. And so by nature, they're people. So being home isolated is not good for them. They want to be back at the office. They want to be involved with their peers again. So it's not going to be a hard transition for our teams coming back to work, because we know most of them want to be back to the office with their fellow salespeople and managers. So that's a positive thing too. And we put in a CRM system in January, which, if you've ever been through those system upgrades, it takes a while for people to learn how to use it.
I know. We're doing the same thing here.
The salespeople think, oh my God, Big Brother is watching, right? Because that's the first interpretation. But the reality of a CRM system is a tool. And you hate to say crisis, turns lemons into lemonade, but in this case it did. Our managers and salespeople are saying, hey, this is a good thing. We can put things in the pipeline. We can track things, because now they're making more. The reality is they're making more sales calls, more contacts than they ever did before. Because when there was lots of ads, the rep would come in and they'd sell, and they'd have to schedule their ad. They'd have to do all the paperwork. The day gets filled up. Now they're making a lot of sales calls, so they're really brushing up on their sales skills, and they're learning how to use the system, which we have is, the Pulse, Ad Seller. We have AdMall, we have the CRM system. We have all those tools that now they're learning how to use on their day-to-day basis and integrated it into their day-to-day sales calls. So that's that's been a real positive aspect of all of this.
Talk to me about, you've been so complimentary about working for Adams, and you've worked for some other companies. You have a lot of autonomy, don't you? You're not having to go by corporate platforms. I must use this vendor. I must use this vendor. You get to make the choices of what you work with and meet your own bottom line there. Is that what's going on?
We have, with Nick coming on board, he's really helped us.
Nick Monaco, yes.
He's really helped us in a large degree to put, so we're not everybody's buying their own stuff, because you got to have economy of scale. So we're working on looking at what makes sense as a company, what platforms we should use, and we're not small. Think about it. Adams didn't start. We weren't even my mom wasn't a glimmer in their eye until 2013, and in 2014 we started buying the papers. And so you got to think about that. And the kind of papers we bought were all a lot of family owned. They did businesses in certain ways, and they had all their own systems. So as we're growing, we're figuring out what are the best systems that make sense, and how can we go to economies of scale, and how we can save money. And Nick's really doing a great job in pulling all of that together. And I see us, way more efficient, but also because we into it by scale, all of us are gonna have better tools than we've ever had before. So I like the fact that we're looking at this in a different way, so we can, take advantage of all the synergies we have. Now, one thing we don't have as a company, we don't have a lot of corporate overhead. We all kind of chip in, and there's very few corporate people, which is kind of an interesting design. But it works. We have really good people. So that's again one of the reasons I like our company and always have. And I've worked for great people and great companies. I've liked every company I've worked for, and the companies as well as the people I've reported to. I've really learned a lot from all of them. But this was just the time in my life where I needed this. And and like I said, I feel privileged working for Adams. It's an interesting group. It's still a family owned, but it's a large family owned, group. And we're covering a lot of parts of the country.
All right, so let me just let's finish up with the metrics. To date, from the date of this recording, 1,200 plus businesses have taken advantage of your freemium Yes, We're in Business offer. You have now converted about 160 into paid advertising programs where you do a dollar for dollar match up to $1,000. How much total revenue are we looking at now to the top line?
I always like to keep quite a bit.
All right, I'll put how many zero? No, but you're
not anywhere close to the $2.5 million. Let's put it that way. We're a long way.
2.5 million of direct business.
Yeah, that's what our target is. If we can match that, we'd be happy. Now, we're carrying this through September too, because you got to remember. Here's the kind of the quirky about Florida. It's our season starts in December, and we're opposite a lot of the markets. December through April is when we're really
we're booming.
And this kind of hit us in a bad spot. We were March was we were having a fantastic March, and April was looking really good, and then this happened. So you can't look backwards. My dad used to say, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, it'd always be time for Christmas. So you kind of but now we go forward. So the hardest part for Florida is the summer months, and this is leading right into it. So our advertisers are going to need a lot of help through now until season starts again. So our stimulus program is through September, but I can see us having to extend it and help beyond the September plan, because December is when and who knows. Now this is interesting. I talked to some realtors, and they're depending on how it all comes back and with speed, they're anticipating a potential real estate boom down here because of what's happening in the Northeast. And how Florida and Chicago, this is kind of from Cook County and our typical cities in the Northeast where people are buying homes in Florida. What's happening in the bigger cities in the Northeast may encourage more people to want to move to the Florida markets. And so, depending how this goes, we could see potentially a real estate shortage at some point. People want to buy homes and leaving the areas that have been hardest hit by.
Yeah, I read that too. We could be seeing well, I know we just don't know what the society will look like on the back end of this, nor do we know how many months. But what I respect most is you guys aren't crawling into a corner and screaming doom and gloom. You're innovating and reinventing, and that's what this message should be. If someone wants to get a hold of you and ask you for advice, I know you're a busy guy because you always called me back after 5:30 when I was cooking dinner. Every time.
I know. I feel like I should be joining you for dinner. We should have probably shared recipes or something.
You're always calling me around 5:30 when I was, working with my wife in the kitchen. But what is your email address, Mike, and how can someone get a hold of you? Go ahead.
You can reach me at mike.beatty, Beatty, at adamspg.com.
And we're going to share some of your collaterals that you will screen first and some of the things with our audience as well, because this is a great way to not only drive some necessary revenue to make sure we survive, but more importantly, develop those relationships with these small businesses when they truly need it, when I'm sure you're going to continue those as we come out of this in this recovery. Good job.
What we're doing as a company too is Nick brought this on board with us. We've done it. We've been going to like every other week where all the regional presidents are on a call together for a couple hours on what we call our pacing days, which is Tuesday. What's been really good about that is we're learning from each other from all around the country. And it's not sending like, here's your flyer, try this. It's a conversation where, I'm taking notes, everybody's taking notes of what people are doing. And then, how we are, as soon as it's over, we're firing emails to each other, send us this or send us that. Because, what do they say? It takes a village sometimes. And so I feel that way. I think where we're at right now as an industry, it takes all of our ideas to figure this out, because no matter if we're in the Suncoast market or if we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or we're in, you name the markets anywhere, we're all in this same problem. We're all trying to figure out how to grow our revenues through a tough time, but that's only going to happen if we can help our advertisers get out of this. So we're really in this same boat together. And that's how we're going to get out of it together too. So we got to I guess my advice is just, trying to keep everybody focused on the end game, which is helping each other in our audience, our readers with the content, and helping our advertisers with what we need to do from with their promotion and marketing. And if we do our jobs, everybody will come out and it'll be a win-win for everybody.
Hear, hear. We'll leave it on that note. I want to thank you for your valuable time. I wish you success, and I wish you and your family health. Stay well, won't you, sir?
Before we hang up, I do want to thank you for doing such an outstanding job on our workshop. And it was really well received, and you saw the same comments I did. People really walked away with a lot of good information, and I really appreciate you and what you did for us. So thank you very much.
It was my honor. And we'll be talking soon, and I hope that you and I can get together at a restaurant in between Tampa and Port Charlotte when they finally open up. We'll meet somewhere in the Sarasota area. How does that sound?
Sounds great to me. Thank you very much.
Stay well.
Yeah, bye.